Here now to discuss all things Trump and DeSantis is comedian and Turning Point USA ambassador Bobby Sauce. Bobby Sauce, how are you doing today, my friend? Good to have you on.
Doing well. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you are here. Now, see, the reason I love you as a friend is because you are somebody that is unequivocally and unapologetically firm in your beliefs, and you are a hardcore DeSantis guy. We were talking just the other day, and you brought up some good points. So as far as DeSantis versus Trump, what are some of DeSantis's good qualities that a lot of no-Trumpers that refuse to take anything or even criticize the man fail to overlook when it comes to DeSantis?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a hardcore DeSantis guy. I just happen to think that he's a better candidate. That doesn't necessarily mean he's running a better campaign. I just happen to think he's a better candidate, and I think he has a higher likelihood of winning in the general. It's a seemingly unpopular decision at this point. Now, again, it's like if you pay a lot of attention to what they're saying, I happen to think a lot of the things that he says are correct. So for an example, he just talked about the insult game and not playing into that. I happen to think that's the correct strategy. To me, the way that the political right is behaving lately is pretty juvenile. I watched Chris Christie on television a couple of days ago say that he wants to kick Donald Trump's ASS on television. These are basically elderly men talking about kicking each other's butt. And on top of that, they insult each other's looks, each other's weight. It's juvenile, and I don't think that it's a winning message for people that care about America. I can care about America, hate socialism, think that the political left is grooming children and doing all types of horrible things. I could think that we shouldn't get involved in foreign wars, and I don't need you to insult somebody's weight. I don't need you to insult somebody's looks. I don't need you to suggest that you could beat somebody up when such a thing is never going to happen. If these were your children talking about this, you would tell them not to do it. So I just think DeSantis makes a lot of correct strategic moves about how he governs and how he conducts himself. His campaign does not appear to be great right now, but I still think that it's early, and I think a lot of people that want to support him, would support him, and ultimately will support him are being silenced by people being extremely aggro that they're turning their back or there's some type of turncoat or whatever else.
Now, you are in Florida, correct?
Yes.
So you lived in Florida during the time where the whole world was shut down. Can you take us through some of the things that DeSantis as your governor did that rallied your support and you at least being somebody to be like, hey, before we start drifting this way and just avoiding him altogether, let's at least take and break down what he did in a position of leadership that proves that he's somebody that's quite capable of doing it on a larger scale.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is clear in the execution of how Florida conducted itself is that so many people came here on vacation. We had economic benefits and a variety of different reasons why so many people came here. We got to remember Florida, I believe, is the third largest state by population. So even though he wasn't necessarily the first to open up, it was the first major state to do so. And on top of all that, the thing that I really love about DeSantis, because I'm in Florida and he's front of mind all the time with the residents here, is that he was not afraid to stand alone. I mean, they were putting on a full court press attack on him, suggesting that he was, I forget the nickname that they came for him or had for him, but it was suggesting that he was killing everybody by not locking everything down more and by not being more authoritarian. And I think that the ability for him to stand alone and stay strong to his convictions through all of this intense pressure, to me, is a great trait of a quality leader. Now, in addition to that, I think that the way that he responded after the hurricane issues on the west coast of Florida were tremendous, rebuilding bridges and cutting red tape and making things happen extremely quickly. I think his hire of Joseph Ladapo in the state of Florida as, I believe, Surgeon General, it was another great hire. This was a person that was at the front line of the pandemic, of the lockdown, of the vaccine rejection, and I think that in addition to all of those things, he was willing to admit when he was wrong. He doesn't still say to this day that the vaccine is the greatest invention in the history of mankind and it's saved 100 million people like the supposed front runner is. I love how the polls are fake when they're not for Trump, but when they're for him, all he does is talk about him. To me, the way that Trump is behaving is Hillary Clinton 2016, and I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to pretend like I'm just going to follow along because everybody seems to get really angry about that. I think DeSantis is a great candidate, and I think there's a lot of time left.
Absolutely. And we can't wait to have you on later this week to talk about more things involving the country. Where can people follow you to follow more of your journey and what you're doing on social media?
Followbobby.com and at takenaps on Instagram.
Well, there you heard it. Bobby Sauce, thank you so much for joining us today, man.
My pleasure.